Welcome back to Happiness in Progress. I'm your host, Danielle Craig. I'm an Emmy Award-winning journalist, a mom, wife, and you know what I like to say, just a person looking for more joy in the everyday. This podcast is brought to you by the Mail Tribune. You can find more podcasts at mailtribune.com. If you haven't already, go check out my Hip Habits workbook. It is a workbook of 6 months of weekly habits. Everything from adding a new healthy habit to setting a budget and even prioritizing it and getting out from under overwhelm. I think you're going to love it. There's an e-version and a physical version available. I'll put the links in show notes. Today, you're going to hear from globally recognized fitness and nutrition expert Angelo Poli. He is the founder of MetPro. MetPro is a company that specializes in transformations using a process called metabolic profiling, aka MetPro. He has been featured on the Huffington Post, TedX, Sports Illustrated, Wall Street Journal, Men's Health, and many more. And today, he's going to be talking about what it is MetPro does. It's metabolic profiling, what the metabolism is and how it works, how we actually play a role in it. And one of my favorite things that we talk about is that thing that women like me like to complain about, how our husbands stop drinking soda and then suddenly have lost all the weight in the world. He's even going to talk about that. There's so much good stuff in this conversation, so let's get to it. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Danielle. This is great.
I think this time of year, a lot of people are trying to lose weight. It's the beginning of the year. It's the resolution season. Tell me what you've found when it comes to those who will be successful and those who won't.
That's a loaded question, but we can
start with the loaded question.
Boy, you just go straight forward. All right. So, what we do is my company works with individuals doing transformations. So this is the question. And what we have found is, no surprise, it's a little different for everyone. However, the commonality is there has to be some science involved, some specificity involved. And so if we were to boil it all down into one answer to that question, it's understanding your unique metabolism. If you know where your metabolic rates are, then you can really unlock the key to answering that question. What do I need to do? Whether it's to lose weight, improve energy, increase lean muscle mass, decrease body fat, improve athletic performance, whatever your goals are. You can do it if you have a strategy and a plan. And there's 5 things we always talk about. And I'd love to dive into those.
Let's dive in. Yeah. Tell me what these 5 things are.
Okay. We'll go right for it. So the first thing that we do is goal setting. Mm-hmm. And that incorporates the topic of body type. Danielle, have you ever heard about different body types and how they might influence? There's some people refer to them as like the apple and the pear shape. Others refer to
that's about where my knowledge is. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a lot of energy around those body types, especially, if you were to Google or look up any sort of weight loss for body type strategies. And there's so much information out there, it can almost be overwhelming. Mm-hmm. I'll kind of give you a little bit of insight from what the experts are doing. There's a lot of things out there that are true, but not relevant. So as an example, you hear a lot about, well, if you take this supplement, you take this cayenne pepper, you drink beverages cold. These are all things that are scientifically proven to raise your metabolic rate. That's an accurate statement. But it's an accurate statement like this: you burn more calories when you blink your eyes more rapidly. That as well is an accurate statement.
But not relevant.
Not relevant.
Okay.
It's not going to hurt you, but it's not necessarily relevant. So what we're looking for is, what are the big ticket items that are going to be the big levers that will impact change? And so I suppose we can talk a little bit about weight loss, since that's what, and I mean, we do the whole gambit, but 85% of people that reach out to our company are saying, hey, help me with that last stubborn 10, or hey, where do I start digging off this 50 or this 100?
What else is the metabolism impacting in our bodies other than whether we're able to lose weight or not?
The metabolism, what some people call the root of all evil, because it's so it can be so frustrating. I'm glad you asked that. So metabolism and your metabolic profile. My company is called MetPro, and that's short for metabolic profile. And it's not that we believe that that's the only important thing. All exercise, quality nutrition, all these other things are involved. But what we really focus on is your metabolic profile, because that's the most misunderstood. So,
Hmm.
to answer your question, your metabolism is involved in all the vital functions that have to do with sustaining your body, life, longevity, vitality, energy. But at the same time, big problem in the industry is it gets confused in, not nefariously, but marketing confuses the topic and tries to tie it in with your health and quality nutrition. The truth is it's two separate topics. So you have your metabolic health, your metabolism, and then you have good nutrition. And they're two important but separate topics. And I'll give you an illustration. When we think of someone, you think of someone with a really fast metabolism. Um, we all know someone like that. Describe them to me. Who are you thinking about with a fast metabolism? You say someone who can eat and eat and eat, or just
Hmm.
never, never gains weight. Describe this person in your
Yeah,
head.
exactly that. Yeah, super, thin and eating whatever they want and have a lot of energy.
Yeah. So if we're going by a strict definition of metabolism, it's basically your metabolic pace will determine how much energy in the form of fuel you can intake for practical purposes without gaining weight. Now, have you ever seen those shows like on the Discovery Health Channel? They have a 900-pound man they're taking out of the house with a crane. These are obviously extreme circumstances, but just by way of illustration, they'll put them on something like 4 or 5 thousand calories a day, and some of these people they'll lose 10 pounds a day.
Mhm. Mhm.
How many pounds would you or I lose if we were eating 5,000 calories?
I think I'd go the opposite, right? Like I'm starting to gain weight at that point.
Right. So by the strictest definition, these individuals have a blazing fast metabolism. You see how health and metabolism are not always related? Because the way your metabolism works is, think of it as a carburetor mixing fuel. It can be tuned up and it can be tuned down. Metabolism is the combination of all the little hormonal and biological interactions within our body that determine how much fuel we burn. And it increases when our body is in an environment of high intake. In other words, there's lots of fuel available, and it decreases when our bodies are used to less fuel. There's other things that will impact that, but the grandfather methodology is your metabolism is always going to adjust to try and keep you alive, which is why metabolism isn't the most important topic, it's the most confusing topic.
Mhm. Mhm.
People think in terms of parity. In other words, it should be fair. Well, if somebody else is doing XYZ, if I do that, I should get the same result. So now, if you're listening at home, nod with me if this resonates with you. You know, two different friends who've done the same diet or same program and gotten two different results. Or even more frustrating, you've done a diet before and gotten a result, and now you're doing the same diet again with a very different result.
Mm, mhm.
That's the impact of your metabolism evolving over time.
So, do we have a role in this? What can we do to remedy our metabolism? Can we speed it up?
Yes,
Okay.
you can.
What do we
You
do?
can.
You've talked a lot about in things that I was reading, and maybe before we go to that, I was reading how that really low calorie diets are slowing people's metabolisms.
Right,
So if
right.
a person's taking on a diet who's had a lifetime of low calorie diets, and then someone who has not that, maybe the opposite, that's the person with the low calorie diet history is going to be the one that struggles. Talk to me about that, and then talk to me about how we remedy.
Absolutely. when I do lectures and seminars on body transformations, I'll usually pick one person out of the crowd that's willing, be a good sport about it. And so I'll pick a lady who's active, athletic, and we'll just use her as an example. And we'll say this person's called Julie. Say, okay, Julie, are you active? Do you eat healthy? And she says, yeah, I exercise regularly. I'm active. I eat healthy. Um, so Julie's a petite gal. She's 130 pounds. I say, okay, you're in your mid 40s. You know your body pretty well. I want to ask you, what would happen if we were to change nothing about your diet, nothing about your exercise, nothing about your routine, except every night before you go to bed, you would eat a pint of Ben and Jerry's ice cream. And I always use the same illustration because I always get the same response. She always laughs and she says, well, I'd be happy. I said, okay, but I'd start gaining weight. Correct. So now I'm going to illustrate how the metabolism actually works. How much weight would you gain? Now, this is a woman who's petite. She weighs between 120 and 130 pounds. How much weight would you gain in 30 days? She'll invariably tell me between 5 and 15 pounds. Perfect. That's about correct. I am a metabolism expert. I've done this literally 20,000 times. You're correct. You'd probably gain between 5 and 15 pounds. Now, here's the question. What would happen if you kept eating that pint of ice cream every night for a year? What would happen? And she'd stop and think, and she'd probably say, yeah, I'd probably gain between, and then they'll usually say between 20 and 30 pounds. And once again, you're right. That's probably what would happen. But now we have a mathematical problem because that doesn't add up based on our current science that we understand about metabolism. See, a pint of ice cream, that's 1,000 calories a night. And there's 3,500 calories in a pound of body fat. So that's 7,000 calories a week extra she's eating. That's 2 pounds a week by the strict numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll ask everyone in the room, how many here think Julie here in the front row is going to gain 104 pounds in a year? No takers.
Mm-hmm.
Intuitively, we know that would never happen. Now, she'll gain 30 and she's not going to be happy about that, but she won't even come close to gaining that 100 plus pounds that mathematically she should. Why? Because Ben and Jerry's makes your metabolism faster. Now don't go home and say, Angelo said, Mr. Poli said. You get in trouble with that. But you see where we're going with this.
Right.
What I'm trying to do,
Danielle, your body's keeping you alive. The metabolism's changing. Okay.
I want to break down some barriers. That's why I'm using these extreme examples of someone that is unfortunately unhealthy, but has a super fast metabolism. And then, oh wait, by eating more and gaining weight, I actually speed my metabolism. That's not the take-home message. I'm going to leave you with the science steps, action steps that our professionals do with their clients that help them get results.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to break down some of these myths, some of these barriers that have really been fed to us, not maniacally or nefariously, but just through, we look at the topic of metabolism through the lens of marketing. Usually, you have the picture of the two runners jogging through the park, get a healthy metabolism, speed your metabolism. Well, the truth is a lot of people who are eating very healthy but very low intake, they're struggling with a very slow metabolic rate. And your body weight is not going to be a result of whether you eat a lot or a little. It may tomorrow, but long term, your body weight is going to be a result of whether or not your metabolism is healthy and functioning. Anybody can get sick, they get the flu and they'll lose 5-6 pounds. What happens?
Mm-hmm.
They go right back to where they were. I've worked with multiple folks that used to be on the weight loss TV shows like The Biggest Loser and helping repair their metabolism. I worked with a gal just a couple of years ago. She was on one of those survival reality shows where they're, stuck on an island for X amount of days. She hired me to slow her metabolic rate.
Wow.
You absolutely can control it. Yeah, we went from eating, 3, 4 times a day down to eating just 2 big meals a day, and then eventually 1 big meal and 1 snack, because we wanted to condition her metabolic rate to actually run slower and slower so she wouldn't get low blood sugar and headaches and
Right.
things like that
Right.
once she got to the island. We don't
Wow.
think of metabolisms in those type of terms,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to give you some straightforward, if you're listening at home, I'm going to give you some straightforward takeaways and what we look at as the biggest levers. And that's where we were talking about goal setting and body type and how it can be so confusing out there. So the first thing that I do with somebody who says, I want to, whatever it is, I want to lose 40 pounds, I want to decrease my body fat percentage, I want to be healthier, I want to run around with the grandkids, you name it, is we do a goal setting session to identify what you're not going to work on first.
Mm.
I know that
Yeah.
sounds weird, right?
Yeah. No, I
You're
love
actually
it.
not going to do it.
Release that part of
Um,
the expectations. Yeah.
I mean, I get people that call me all the time, Mr. Poli, I know who you are. I know who you've worked with. Here's what I want to do. I want to run a sub 6 minute mile. I want to lose 50 pounds. I want to double my body weight in squats. I want to do this. I want to do that. I say, perfect. I'm going to help you do them all. Now, which one do you want to do first? Because if you try and do them all, you're not going to have enough specificity in your nutritional strategy or exercise to force that adaptive response.
Mm.
That's a concept we all understand is generalists. That's great. That's the better way to live life as a general principle. But when you're trying to get inertia going, momentum going, you need all focus on just one area. So that way we can actually start getting the ball rolling. Specificity. Your body biologically responds to that. The second thing is lifestyle. That's where it becomes highly individualized. Some of my clients are surprised to learn how, when I'm talking to them about family and sleep schedule and work schedule, and travel and all these other things, I'm actually planning out what they're going to eat for snacks.
Mm.
I know that
Mm.
seems weird.
Yeah.
I'm actually planning what we're going to do for snacks. A lot of people, there's debate in the community. Well, snacking is better for your metabolism, or snacking is not as good for your metabolism. I have all of my clients snack, and I promise it's not a reason you've thought of. Here's why I have all of my clients snack.
Okay. Tell
You
us.
don't eat snacks socially. You don't take snacks socially. You take meals socially. You go out to business lunch or lunch with the friends or dinner with the family, but you don't call up all your girlfriends or all of the guys from the gym and go, hey, Johnny, at 3:30 today, I'm going to have an apple and almonds. You want to join me? That's why I have everyone do snacks. That's it. That's the
That's
truth.
great.
Because I can say, hey, Johnny, I want you to eat exactly this and exactly that at 3:30 every day, and they'll do it.
Yeah. There's
Now, if I
nothing
say,
socially
look, the
that's
rest
going
of
to
the week, you
change.
have
Okay.
to.
Okay.
So it's something to anchor to. That's what lifestyle is so important. And then we need to identify whether, so now we're on point three of five. Is someone strategic or metabolic? Which one are you? So someone who is strategic is someone who generally is in a state where their metabolism will respond well with just clean eating and regular activity. By the way, that's about 70% of the population. You just pick 7 out of 10 people off the street corner. If I simply put, because people say, well, what diets work, what diets don't? Well, most diets work. So if I pick 70% of the population, put them on a basic meal plan, they will at least start. They might hit a plateau, but at least start losing some weight. The reason they're struggling is because what they need is a way to execute quickly and consistently on quality eating lifestyle habits. That's a strategic client.
Mm-hmm.
About 30% of the population, they're already eating clean. They're already eating overall, not perfect, but overall, a healthy, clean diet that's not overindulgent, is not unreasonable, it's balanced. Yet they're not losing weight because their metabolism has already acclimated to their current intake. Most people struggle with that concept. Again, that's because how we're taught to view metabolism, taught that it's something you earn and you do right or you do wrong, or if you eat the right foods or do the right exercise, your metabolism is going to. It doesn't exactly work that way. It's
Mm-hmm.
an adaptive response. So here's how I help people to understand the metabolic type. Your metabolism is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Now, if we were to take 100 people, drop them off in a deserted island and put them on rations for a year, so pick the number, 1,000 calories a day, 1,500 calories a day, whatever. Now, there are young people, old people, small people, big people, men, women, everything in between. Everyone's doing the same 1,500 calories a day or whatever number in your head. Every single person, a year later, when they're rescued off that island, their metabolic rate is 1,500 calories a day. They are burning exactly 1,500 calories a day. If I'm wrong, they don't come off the island. They die
Mm,
there.
mm,
That's
mm-hmm.
simple. Your metabolism will acclimate. So if you eat more, your metabolic rate is going to speed up until it's matching that intake. You're going to gain weight in the process. You're not going to be happy with it. But if it can't ever acclimate to it, you gain weight until you die. You eat
Mm.
less, your metabolic rate, no matter who you are, is going to slow down to match your new intake. So your metabolism is doing its job when it actually produces a plateau. When you're at that state of plateau, you're
Nobody
just like,
wants to hear that.
the dirty word. It's like, oh, what's going on? But when you understand it's just your metabolism acclimating to your intake, you see why we have to have a strategy to actually retrain your metabolic rate. And if it can speed up and slow down, it can be controlled. I'm going to say it twice. Your metabolism can be controlled. We've done it thousands and thousands of times successfully. I'm going to teach you how.
Oh, good. Because what I've learned about metabolism really has been that you don't have as big of a role. Maybe some, but you're getting older, your metabolism's going to slow down. You're a woman, you have a slower metabolism. I don't know if those things are true or if we can manipulate those things to no longer be true.
I usually lie and tell people those things aren't true.
You lie, so they are true.
Oh, I'm teasing. So those are so first of all, so first of all, the reason, and I'm joking, of course, but the reason I say that is because things that you can't control, don't don't stress out over them. It
Okay.
just makes even more important the things you can control, the things
Okay.
you can control. So if the fact is, yes, as we get older, our metabolic rate is impacted. It's not a death sentence, I promise. I see people successfully feeding their metabolism even as they're aging. I see all kinds of men and women successful even when they have, as you're referring to, that genetic predisposition for a slower metabolism. What it means is it's even more important to implement the right science, the right nutritional and training strategies that you can control.
Mhm.
You're not crazy. All those things, if you've read about it, those things are real, but they're not the end all be all. They're
Mm.
a factor that's going to contribute mostly what your starting point needs to be. And that's what I was going to go into next. That's point four, which is kind of the focal point of the matter. That's baseline testing.
Okay.
If you want to lose weight or you want to speed your metabolism, what you have to do is baseline test. And it's very simple. When we start with a new client, what we'll do is we'll put them on a basic meal plan. So I'm gonna use you as an example, just as a general. Um, so healthy female, I'm gonna say, here's your demographic. I don't know your height or your age, but I'm gonna say as a general demographic, we're gonna start you in a median range where you're eating 4 to 5 times a day, balanced macronutrient profile. There's nothing special about the diet I would put you on, Danielle. What I would have you do is something that I've calculated and had literally thousands of other healthy, active women, your proximate demographic, have done before. and then compare your stats to see how's your body responding. And we do that in about 72 hours. It doesn't take long. There's only three possible outcomes. If I have you on a meal plan where I know the macronutrients, calories, the glycemic load, the meal frequency, the timing, all the variables, it's going to be boring to follow, but most people can do something for 72 hours. So here's a prescriptive breakfast, snack, lunch. 72 hours later, there's only three potential outcomes. Either you're going to gain weight, you're going to lose weight, or you're going to stay the same way. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So what we have is data that doesn't lie. So if it's data driven, we know not how in theory someone will respond. Now we know actually how you respond. Based on that data, now we're going to start turning the dials and levers to identify, okay, what do we need to do to either lose more weight, to speed your metabolism? What I'm looking for is leverage, contrast. I'll give you one more quick illustration. I know I can talk a lot, so I'll try and be brief with this one. Every year, and I used to do a lot more in the physique sports, so that male and female physique, figure, bikini, bodybuilding, you name it, put athletes on stage. This was a lifetime ago, but it was fun. Every year, people would come up to me and say, Mr. Poli, wow, your athlete looks amazing on stage. How did you get their physique looking like that? What do you have them eating? And I would give the same tongue-in-cheek answer, boiled chicken, broccoli, brown rice, sweet potato, all the things you hear the fitness community talk about, oatmeal. And then they would follow it up with the question, comes every time, if I ate that, would I look like them? Nope. Nope. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to actually tell you why. Because it's not about the boiled chicken or broccoli. It's not about the food you're eating. It's not even about the total calories or macros you're eating. It's about contrast. What your body was used to and what you then change it to. So that athlete that you see on the stage at a very, very low body fat percentage, they were used to weeks and weeks, possibly months and months, of eating more and more and more food as I engaged them in a strategy to up adjust their metabolic rate while they're training and working really hard. Then a few weeks from competition, now we cut them down from all those calories, all those carbohydrates, down to a very low or moderate intake of boiled chicken and broccoli. And the body fat incinerates off their body. That's why it seems like, and there are genetic factors and hormonal factors, it seems like males will lose weight a little faster than females. And I'm just going to be truthful with you. It's usually because us males will sometimes, we come from a spot where we're used to eating worse than females. Generally speaking, this is a generalization, there's always exceptions. But I find that a lot of times, guys will come from I'm not focusing on my health, so I just eat whatever I feel, I drink whatever I feel, and so they just cut out soda pop for a week. It's such a
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
So it's about that contrast. So when we baseline test, what I get is, where is someone starting? Now, if you said to me, oh, my goal is I want to lose 10 pounds. You said to me, my goal is I want to gain 5 pounds of muscle. Now I know what our goal is. And now I know where we're starting, and I know if I have enough runway. So if somebody starts, we're on a moderate intake, they start losing weight, I'm going to leave them on that moderate intake and readjust one of the two basic dials, which is calories or carbohydrates, gradually over time to keep them losing. Now, if I find, oh, Danielle, we put you on a program, we were trying to lose 5 pounds, but I had to drop. You didn't start losing weight until we were way down here. We really low calories or really low carbohydrates. Yeah, you can always reduce more. I know it's not sustainable. So at that point, I'm going to say, okay, we're going to lose 2 or 3 pounds. Then we're going to take a break. We're going to rev your metabolic rate. Now, if you go from eating very low intake to very high intake overnight, you're going to gain a lot of body fat in the process. But if you do it gradually and strategically, adding just a little bit of carbs here, a little bit of calories there, in step with increased physical activity, your metabolism is going to get used to a little more, and it's going to acclimate. So you increase slowly. We're going to tow your metabolism all the way up to 60 miles an hour. Then we're going to proverbial put you on the boiled chicken and broccoli or whatever that looks like for each person. We're going to reduce quickly, and that's going to create contrast. That contrast will absolutely result in fat loss, weight loss, all the things that most people that reach out to us are looking for. And that's the science behind transformation.
So if somebody's listening and they're like, I want to do this, how can they start on, even if it's on their own, what would they do to help out their metabolism?
We have tools that people can use on their own, which is essentially just digitally track that whole process that I just explained. And of course, that's what we do. We have coaches. They can reach out to us, and we can take them through an interview process and help them with, okay, here's number 1, number 2, number 3. For those of you listening at home that just want to start, hey, what can I do today? What can I do today? I want you to write down what you're eating for 2 or 3 days. Take it to just a friend of yours, someone who's, reasonably intuitive, understands the basics of nutrition and food, and say, Julie, here's my food log. Can you tell what I'm trying to do? And if they say, oh yeah, it looks like you're trying to lose weight. It looks like you're trying to build muscle. Yeah, it looks like you're on the right track. If they have no clue what you're trying to do, then your program probably has a little bit of an identity crisis and it needs tuning up. So it starts with just, hey, let's put together a program where I'm eating, exercising in a way that at least the average person can look at what I'm doing and go, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Track what you're eating. And then if you feel like it's working, don't change anything. Keep doing that until it's no longer working. And if you feel like you're not getting the result that you're after, then know your levers. We could do another podcast on levers, getting into meal timing, carbohydrate, glycemic load, calorie increase or reduction in exercise. But suffice to say, those are your primary levers. Once again, calories, carbohydrates, meal timing, glycemic load, and exercise. Those are your 5 major levers. And I know there's a guru out there that's going to raise their hand and say, well, what about this? What about that? All of them are right. Those are the big 5 that are going to have the largest impact. So those are the levers that you're going to want to manipulate. You can download our app if you want to track it and have it recommend, here's a meal plan and here's what we're assessing. And it'll tell you, here's your metabolic score. This is good or this is not so good. Based on that, we recommend changing this, this, and this. You can call up and talk with one of our experts. They'll, walk you through the whole history and say, okay, here's what we've learned in previous transformations. Here's something that may work for you. And then you can do with that info what you will. Or you can, like I said, write it down on your own, show your best friend and say, what do you think? Does this look like I'm trying to either lose weight or gain weight or do something different, and see if it makes sense? And that's a great starting point.
Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate all of this and learning all of this about the metabolism. Before I let you go, I do like to ask all of my guests, because my podcast is about finding more joy in the everyday, what would you say is your number 1 tip to doing that? Finding more joy in the good, the bad, and the in-between.
So I won't dishonor the weightiness of that question with trying to answer the big and even more important answers to those type of questions. But I will say, in the scope of your health, your fitness, your personal health and fitness goals, find a coach, find someone who will lend you their passion as you're adopting the values for yourself. Nothing motivates humans more than seeing progress. So if you can find someone who will go on that journey with you, it makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
That's what I find helps me.
I love that. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I hope you enjoyed learning about the metabolism, and my favorite part, that we have a role in it. I think that's really exciting. I have posted all of Angelo's information and MetPro's information in the show notes. You can find it there. Thanks for being here on Happiness and Progress.